Please take note, all comments raised by the various political parties are those of the political parties concerned and are not those of Safari Investments RSA Ltd, Nkoma Village, The Ark at 1349, and our social partners.
The reason why, particularly President Jacob Zuma, is because of his revolutionary accomplishments.
We are saying that even if it can be 30 years in China, the issue of the land is very important.
There's a lot of regress which happened, Brian. In 2016, the ANC lost power. You know, Dr. Sputa Ramukumba was a mayor of Tshwane. There were a lot of people who were given opportunities. Tshwane was working. It was literally a construction site.
That skin tone is yeah, okay. I don't want.
I've got a passion for development.
No, let us be.
I could have mistaken you for elite.
PheliVille Podcast with your host
Dumelang and welcome to a brand new episode of PheliVille Podcast with your host Brian Mshengu Shabalala Mshengu Wasepitori. Today we bringing you, as you know, we're heading for the election. So we thought a rebel conversation in Yana ka the election. So we were fortunate to get willing participants from some political parties, although I must mention already, we were not able to reach out to all the political parties we believe maybe are significant more really per se, due to time and other aspects. So apologies for any political party approaching, and maybe who knows, even after the election we can still continue with conversations around the governance, the country as a whole. Before, let's also just acknowledge the painter behind us, Bodo Akuzwayo. He goes by the Office. Am I right? Yeah. That's the name, the artist behind, and all these beautiful tenants, this beautiful establishment. Now, I'm going to allow the guests that are now about to introduce it, starting on my immediate right or left, depending on how you're looking at it. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah. Dumelang Maduri, Dumelang South Africa, Dumelang MK Amate, Kina Ernest Sadi representing the MK party.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
No, thanks very much. Relebo, kina lese homa kubela. Kebeleilo na mo Sanibonani site. Mo Sabona. I'm representing the ANC. I'm the ANC provincial spokesperson in Gauteng.
Okay, thank you, sir. And side to my furthest.
Naki le hlogonolo moagi le nna ke belegwe mo PheliVille. Ke represent Azapo. Go tla nna le ba ba matlatla morago ga ke batla go bolela nna ke the Tshwane commissar. Ke a leboga.
Okay. Firstly, thank you so much, gentlemen. Ka mokgwa le khopetseng and ka short notice and all these things. We're a new podcast. We're still trying to find our feet. But thank you so much for responding to be able to come through. Re tshware dikganyana le badudi ba mo Atteridgeville ba mo Pheli gore why tshwantse ba vote, and re utlwe some of the views and whatever. So ke tlo thoma ka Brian ka mo siteng ya ke tlo thoma lo ka wena ka mo MK is for many the new kid on the block. Some would say controversial kid at that. But obviously that's because of its formation, and some would say maybe people who are disgruntled coming out of another party, which is the history of political parties since the beginning of democracy, is that there's breakaway parties. We've seen them from the beginning of time, Kamukopu and EFF and all. There's always a party that's forming now, but this is the most interesting of them all at this particular election. So, who is the MK? How did the MK? Ithomile byang? Go etsagetse gore be le MK. If o ka re no re tshwarela yona hanya.
MK party may be a new kid on the block, but it's a new kid on the block with an old soul, so to speak. The MK party was formed as a result of comrades, commanders, members of society and members of the revolutionary movement who were disgruntled and unhappy about the way our politics has been unfolding and developing. And as well, they were unhappy that in the process of everything happening, our society is getting slowly decimated. Now, it took a few individuals to say that we cannot leave the politics of our country to deteriorate to an extent that we would end up counter-naively destroyed. Everything about destroyed. You talk infrastructure, you talk employment, you talk crime, drug abuse, infiltration, it's a mess. And unfortunately, because of the fact that we do not have currently a political organization that's in government, cares about all these things that are getting destroyed in the country, we were encumbered for a little. Now we must actually just take action and make sure that, by the way, when the MK was formed as an organization of the people and as a defender of the people. So we wanted to resuscitate that same spirit that would actually come and say that this is the people, this is where people are, and people are the only ones who can actually liberate themselves.
Yeah.
And that resulted in the formation of the MK.
Before I go in depth into who actually formed it, because it seems like a mysterious party for many who are sitting on the ground, who are not politicians per se, for citizens at large. We are seeing faces, but we're not really sure who actually started. I don't know whether we'll be able to get those questions. But before that, there's something very important I forgot to mention, and we must mention this. Please take note that all comments raised by various political parties are those of the political parties concerned and not those of Safari Investments, Nkomo Village, PheliVille, or the ARC, and our social partners. So just going back to your now, what I wanted to ask now, Jorge, who actually, is there specific founding members, if we're able to know, by or not this party? Because so far, as Arena citizens, we're seeing the face of the party, the former state president, Jacob Zuma, but we do not really know who actually was part or crucial part.
Yeah, in fact, the MK party did not just start as an MK party. It started with members who were inside the ANC itself. They were very unhappy with the way things were developing, and they were lamenting the situation that, look, we have problems within the organization, but these problems are not being given attention. That culminated in members holding a summit to say, let us discuss about what the organization is doing. Let us discuss about what the organization is there, it's representing, because what it's representing is not actually what people intended it to represent in terms of it liberating people out of colonialism, out of poverty, and out of all the ills that have been happening. Following the summit that was held, it was decided that, look, because there are these issues, let us take these complaints and issues that we have identified which have been occurring within the ANC itself, take them to the ANC NEC to say that these are the issues that members of the ANC are dissatisfied about, that are occurring within the organization itself. But then unfortunately, when the NEC of the ANC was approached, they were met with disdain and with accusations that they wanted to actually conduct a coup in the country. But then all those ills which are negative have been occurring, they have not actually stopped occurring. And as a result, members of the MK in particular decided that, look, let us sit down and see if ever we cannot establish a vehicle that would be able to assist us in order to correct the ills that are happening within the ANC itself, because of the fact that it's difficult to correct the ills that are happening within the organization whilst we are inside that organization. And as a result, the concept was developed that the MK party must be formed in order for us to be able to address all these issues that are actually occurring within the country. And by extension, destruction of everything that's actually happening in the country.
Okay. Are you able to tell us who those members are, or maybe the key members, the key founding members of the party?
It's not about key members. It's ordinary members of the ANC who actually came together and said they would talk to Ubaba Jacob Zuma, with him having all the experience, political experience, with him having acquired all the experience that he could acquire, for him to be able to guide as to how it is that it would be possible for them to be able to solve such ills that are actually occurring, and to make sure that they put the ANC back into focus. Because what we discovered that because there's too much of infiltration of the ANC, particularly by the colonial plan. And as a result, that actually created problems that we need to actually reverse that thing to make sure that the ANC comes back to path, to make sure that things are sorted out in a proper way in order for us as Africans to be prioritized in our own country.
But one would ask, why does it take you 30 years? I mean, if you are members of an organization that's been doing all these wrongs, does it take you 30 years? Because now, and that is why people sometimes often feel that breakaway parties are often position fights, or people who are unable to, it's just what people feel. So I'm just asking that you are sitting there, the MK is sitting there, the members, there's all these problems that you mentioned. Does that take 30 years before the summit is required or becomes a necessity?
I hear you, and it's a very valid question. But then you need to understand, with every organization that is formed, obviously there will always be pros and antis within the same organization. And I intentionally mentioned the word infiltration, because when we talk of infiltration, it will not be everybody who's got the same objective in terms of an agenda of the organization at heart. There will be those who will always be detractors, who will try to derail whatever it is that people have agreed on, Now, it takes time when, particularly with the introduction of resources into our revolutionary arena. Don't forget that in the past, people got involved in politics not for ideas of gaining any material.
Absolutely.
It was purely for the love of their own people, to say that our people cannot be suffering whilst we are sitting and doing nothing. But with infiltration of colonialists from the West, they brought in resources that manipulated people who were hungry for resources, they were hungry for improvement and development. And they used those as tools to manipulate people's minds, such that even when progressive ideas are introduced into the organization, there will be that one that is sent to make sure that those progressive ideas are not implemented. And that obviously will end up consuming time. You'll always move 3 steps forward, but then jump 2 steps back. You end up not moving as fast as one would actually under normal circumstances, because you have this person swearing karikana. Every time karikana here accelerator, somebody So as a result, it took more time to do that. But then even the issue was Tabaya discipline. When you're a disciplined member of an organization, you always tell yourself that, look, I will not get out of this organization. I have to sort it out from inside. But at some stage, there comes a realization. Hence, you found that even when we had revolutionaries within the country itself, there were people who went to exile. They did not go to exile because they hated South Africa, no. But because of the fact that they wanted to change things from inside, but it was not possible or almost difficult to do that. Hence, some of us had to actually go out there and going to make sure that we acquire and amass resources that will actually assist us in fighting. Not because of the fact that we are going to be sitting there permanently, but to amass ourselves to make sure that when we come in here, we direct the change and make sure that things move in a proper way in the country.
Okay. I think one of the questions I'm sure people would want to ask is, why Ubaba Jacob Zuma, who already was a sitting president at some point, why you bring him and also, I mean, this is in itself history in the making in our democracy. I'm sure there's never been any former state president who's on an election ballot paper of a current election after he had served almost two terms himself. Why him? Why was the choice him?
Excluding Lula da Silva, obviously, which is what he's done. I don't know. But the reason why, particularly President Jacob Zuma, is because of his revolutionary accomplishments. A revolution is a war. Whether it's physical, whether it's overt or covert, it's still a war. Now,
so it wasn't just a quick fix to make an
No, not at all, not at all. It's because if you can actually assess the leadership of the ANC currently sitting, there's no one that will surpass President Jacob Zuma in terms of political and revolutionary experience. That we give it to.
I can see the soul is ready to jump in, but
yes, but it's like looking to say that there are people who have acquired information, who have acquired experience over time, that they've actually run the course. They understand the dynamics of what is involved, and as a result, it would not assist us to go and take a political novice for him to actually represent the ideals that we want to push, and particularly because of the ideology that he has been pushing for years, which is a leftist ideology. Thank you.
Okay, but also for young politicians up and coming, it also begs that question of are we not only recycling leaders, but we also, it's almost like the solution is always the people that I want to find a way to say it nicely without sounding like an ageist, but Jacob Zuma is 82. And, all these young leaders who have political ambitions, what does it say? Because this is also a question that I'm going to bring up with the ANC to say, are we not dealing with an issue of hogging positions general? Now we have another breakaway party, but it's not young people in the forefront. It's actually still very much people that we would be expecting to go into retirement so that we can bring in the new blood that actually can take us forward. Now, this is a question obviously young people would be asking.
There's an adage, Yasepedi airing Masakwa Maswa, Ayamakamata.
Okay.
Meaning that the young ones will not be able to achieve this unless they get proper guidance from the older ones, because they've been through that path, they've traveled the path, they know what's entailed. Now, the MK party in its current form, every structure that exists in the MK party is interim.
Okay.
And that is done intentionally. Even for President Jacob Zuma, he's not going to be the permanent president of the organization, but you need someone to establish a proper. No. In fact, to the contrary, yesterday we had a massive rally at Orlando Stadium, and I had the privilege of attending the dinner where he was there, and he even emphasized that this foundation I'm establishing not because of the fact that I would want to hog power or anything, but because I want to make sure that when I hand over this organization, I'm going to hand it over to people who care for their own people, to people who will take this organization forward and make sure that our own African people take first preference in our own country. Poverty is eliminated. The youth go to school. There's discipline in the country. Crime falls away. We have got a robust industry that's going to move. Our land comes back to our hands. And we end up focusing on ensuring that we go towards an Afrocentric perspective that will ensure that our monarchs, for instance, our African monarchs, get the necessary respect that they want. Our religious leaders get the necessary respect. All facets and spheres of our society end up being recognized and all develop equally to make sure that everyone is prosperous in the country.
Okay, we're going to hold it there for a minute. I think ANC, the ruling party. The party that's been given 30 years to govern.
Sutela marapo ke fe bomme marapo
Oh,
le bomme ba tsene
Hey,
e ska nna rona fela bontate
hey.
e ra le go MK the ruling party.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Ra lebogang ntate. So, so just again, to explain again, fela gore the provincial spokesperson, yeah,
no,
and what your duty involves, just for
no,
okay,
this opportunity. Well, at first, we had a discussion whether we should just allow the zonal leadership of the ANC or even our branches to take this platform. And, I felt as the head of communications in Gauteng that this is home. But also this platform, it needs to be graced by senior leaders of the ANC.
Okay.
Because in the true sense, Atteridgeville is the home of the African National Congress. The founder of the African National Congress Youth League, Dr. Ngom, is found in Atteridgeville. Just a few meters from here, just behind this mall, you have one of the senior MK soldiers, not the MK of December 2023, the MK which was founded by President Chief Albert Lutuli. You have them here. So the Atteridgeville has always had that political significance. So that's why we took a decision that we have to come and honor this particular platform and not undermine it. But also it offers one an opportunity to be, I think this is the only platform, especially myself, where I can be able to really speak of the 30 years of the ANC, where I can just share vivid memories, lived experiences, what I have seen, and everything else develop in this past 30 years during the tenure of the ANC. So that's why I came here. I'm not just the ANC head of communications in Gauteng, but I'm also the chief whip. So when you are a chief whip, I know normally people will think, especially the question that you asked about age, meaning the Premier of Gauteng reports to me, the Speaker of Gauteng reports to me, and all the MECs reports to me, and every single public representative reports to me. So the ANC always looks up to Atteridgeville for answers. When there was a problem of electricity, the ANC came to Atteridgeville for Sputla to respond to that. When Thabo Mbeki became president, the ANC went to Brataitas Mafolo, who's also a senior leader of Umkondo Wesizwe, who was a speechwriter of President Thabo Mbeki. So that's why we decided that we must honor this particular platform, and that's why we're here.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, to those maybe who may have not looked at the election manifesto, the ANC, some may have looked at it. There would be talks. It's much more of the same, and some promises. Are they even achievable? Those sort of things. This is just electioneering as usual from the ruling party. How would you respond to that?
I think, Mshengo, when you started, you asked us to localize this manifesto.
Yeah.
But also to speak in the context of Atteridgeville.
Yeah.
So, in the context of this Atteridgeville and this 30 years of democracy, I was born in 86.
Yeah.
At the height of democracy.
Yeah.
I started school in 92. And it was still apartheid in 92. So I walked from home in Sosville. I walked to Batuka school. It was 5 kilometers to school. And then the break, 11 o'clock, I walked from Batuka. I went home to eat. Sometimes you arrive home, there's nothing. Sometimes you arrive with there's porridge. I would walk back from home at break and walk back to school. That is 10 kilometers, right? That's 15 kilometers. Then I walk from after school to back home. It's 20 kilometers for a 6-year-old me. And many other children who grew up here. In 82, when I was born, in 86, when I was born in Atteridgeville, there were only 11 streets that were tarred. 11 streets that were tarred.
Yeah.
If we had time, I would give you the names of those main streets.
Yeah.
And they were not tarred because apartheid cared about the black person. They were tarred because these streets had to allow the police nyalas to be able to access the township. There were no road markings. There were no robots that we see today. There were no high mast lights and many other things. This place that we are sitting at, this mall that we are sitting at, it was never there. For a person to go and go to town, we had to either go to Marabastad or we had to take the taxi to town.
Yeah.
There were never shops like this. This Ngomo village was never there. It's a product of democracy. The art lane which was there, it was never there. It was something that we never thought will happen. The number of schools that have been built, we built Lotus Gardens from the ground up. Extension 1, Extension 2, Extension 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
We built it from scratch. We now just completed where apartheid brought people who were dying of a disease, leprosy, just outside Lotus Gardens. It was where people who were dying of leprosy must be in proximity to black people. We've built houses there. We are just concluding around 3,000 units that we've built. I can say a lot of things. Today there is no child, right, who walks 25 kilometers or 20 kilometers to and from school like I did when I grew up in this country. None. So when I joined COSAS, the Congress of South African Students, an affiliate of the Youth League, we had a slogan called "One Student, One Textbook," and everybody here can relate, and even your listeners can relate. You know why? Because every child in the school, the only person who would have a textbook would be the teacher.
Yeah.
So you would have to literally write down everything which is written on the board by the teacher. And that would be the only textbook which would be there. Today, the discourse is changed. Every child in our school system, they have these textbooks. Every child in our school systems, they eat at breaks if the parents are not able to allow it. The children who come from far, like I did, there's buses that go around and all sorts of things. The Attridgeville I was born into, and the Attridgeville which is now, it's a different Attridgeville. So the past 30 years, we can even speak about Super Stadium, how it looked like during apartheid. They used to do athletics there, how it looks like now. There's been a lot of development which has happened in this particular attribute. There used to be a time where if a young person would graduate or a person graduate, it used to be a big thing. It would be celebrated as if it's a wedding. Graduations have become so easy because the doors of learning and culture have been opened through NFSAS, through government-funded programs that allow young people to go and study. So there's a lot that has happened. We did some study. So I serve also in a committee of education. In 1993, in Attridgeville alone, less than 500 young people sat for their matric. Less than 500 people. 53 only passed matric in Attridgeville in 1993. You can look at that number in 93, juxtapose it with the years that came before, and juxtapose it with the numbers of young people who have written matric last year. The numbers are shocking, including the numbers of young people who have passed matric who also qualify to go to universities.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of work which has been done.
I think for the sake of time, though, and I acknowledge what you said. I mean, you said you didn't blow it out of proportion or anything, but to the young people and people who are not getting access to some of these things, would you not say the ANC could have done better? Because there are questions where people are asking, ANC is always telling us about their achievements, but we're not addressing the issue of where they failed or where they could have done better. Because, for instance, as you say, naketsene Khabo primary. He ke ya ko Khabo e tshwana le nako ke tsene ko yona ka 1983. Babo. There was a time ne re tsa di sopo ko kae, I think with the Flavius Mareka, the conditions tsa dikolo tsona tsa rena. Ke a utlwa gore bana they're able to travel pila, maybe there's buses and all these things. But now, why has the provincial school ya mo locationeng deteriorated over the one year ko Pretoria West or something? Why re sa bone ho ya ko sekolo ba re ke evil word thing ke no I'm just trying to think of what. You can see there's vast differences in that. So some of the things it's the lekang tse NEFSAS, as you mentioned, has become a debt trap for a lot of kids, for a lot of people, because now you get these funds off it's over and yet the ruling party said education must be free when they were campaigning the first time. So some of these things, it's where have you gone wrong? Where could you have improved? If maybe we can have that discussion as well.
On the issue of interest of time, I think you gave a party which does not have one single councillor, one single public representative. We're not even sure how they are going to do 20 minutes. We patiently listen.
No, I'm giving you those minutes, but I want us to also tackle the critical issues, and I know you press for time.
We have to, because firstly, NFSAS is not a loan; it's a grant.
Yeah.
It was converted into a grant during the Ramaphosa presidency. We converted it to a grant, allowing people to go to school. I want to.
So it's one like the everyone knows just now. NFSAS. Okay.
I want to come to a point that you are raising. I think if I was not a member of the ANC, I would have certainly joined the PAC or Azapo. Because of the conscious comrades it creates, but also because we find ourselves in an unconscious society where people have a hostile relationship with any institution or anything that they see as owned by government. And that is the biggest problem. If you speak about the schools that we are talking about, the alma mater of whites, which is Takis, the people that it produces, they go back and they plow back. If you go to the Pretoria Boys High, it's anchored by the Afrikaner business people who have made it. They go back and they plow back, right? It was only now recently where we saw the late Diego Msene, the leader of the ANC, who went and built classrooms.
Because I was about to ask that, or some of those leaders, even in the black townships, are the very same people who sit within these political parties. What's the difference between them and the Afrikaner plowing back? Because they're also ANC, maybe DA or whatever members.
Hence we have to have this discussion to say at what point do we allow the people to meet government halfway? At what point do we take ownership of the schools? At what point do I take ownership of Solridge, where I come from, or Watoka, where I come from? At what point do I take ownership of the community where I come from to make sure that it's safe? At what point do we say that we're meeting government halfway and not seeing government as a father and a mother which must just provide and provide, but we are taking no responsibility, including the program of NFSAS. NFSAS is able to take a child from a poor background, give them this opportunity. That person every year changes the course. This year, this person is studying travel and tourism. The following year, they study teaching. The next year, they study HR. It's 7 years. Without realizing that this is a gift from the people of South Africa to give you an opportunity that you can advance yourself and go and start an higher education. And that's where we have to start. Where we have the electorate and the people in Atteridgeville taking ownership. I can tell you, I mean, the first black chartered accountant comes from the school that I come from, Albertina Mgwezi. First black chartered accountant. There are many professionals who come here. We used to have a deputy chief justice, the Senate. We have a lot of professionals that have been produced that came from Atteridgeville. If you go to their alma maters, the schools that they come from, and you ask a question, are these people coming back to just plow back? And I can tell you the answer will be no. That is the difference. We need to change that psyche and believe that if I come from Solridge, the first thing that I do immediately I make it, or I am able to contribute, I must go back and say, what is it that I can do to help? Maybe even adopt a learner or maybe even adopt a classroom or do something for. That's what the Afrikaner and that's what the whites are doing for themselves. The Indians have caught up in that. The Jews in South Africa have long understood that particular philosophy, and it's something we need to drill on the consciousness of our people. We need to inculcate it in the consciousness of our people that this is what we have to do. If you go to the white high schools and everything, retired teachers still go back to where they used to work, and they offer extra classes because they are not going to sit and wait to die. Right here, if you ask how many teachers who are retired actually do go back and plow back where they used to work, it's not there. If you go and ask how many retired nurses, how many retired doctors actually do go back to Kalafong and say, we want to go and work, it doesn't happen. And that's why even in our politics, there are people when they are no longer leaders, they believe they can go out and open parties and say where they have been members for the past 40 years, nothing has happened. Because it's about the person. It's not about the people. And this is what we need to start talking about. And the ANC teaches us that we are students of Amilcar Cabral. We must mask no difficulties. We must tell the truth and claim no easy victories. And hence, when I speak about Atteridgeville, even when I speak on ENCA, on international platforms, because I speak in those platforms, one of the biggest successes of the ANC's rule is Atteridgeville. Because I can tell you this was not here, this is here. I can tell you this was not working before the ANC ruled, this is here. And there's a lot of regress which happened, right? In 2016, the ANC lost power. You know, Dr. Sputa Ramukupa was a mayor of Tshwane. There were a lot of people who were given opportunities. Tshwane was working. It was literally a construction site. Everything, the garbage. I mean, if you drive just behind this Ngomo village, people are just dumping here. And they are not dumping because of anything else, because of the failure of the DA Action SA coalition government. When Sputa was a mayor under the ANC, they used to fetch dustbins twice a week. They used to come and fetch them twice a week. There were services. There was Operation Kukamautu, which ensured the street poles were working. There were no potholes. They would come every week and check if ever there are potholes, if ever there are challenges and all sorts of things. We lost power in 2016. When we lost power in 2016 in Tshwane, our people were plunged into unimaginable hell. And when I say our people, I mean my mother who still stays in Atteridgeville. I mean my sister who still stays in Atteridgeville. Many of my siblings and many of the people I grew up with. Because the DA stopped giving them services. You know what is the challenge? A lot of people in Atteridgeville, because they see Ramaphosa as the president, they think the ANC is still in charge of Tshwane. No. There is no single councillor of the ANC in Atteridgeville that can be able to do anything because the administration is run by the DA.
I think out of respect for the DA who are not here to obviously counteract, I wouldn't say they chose not to be here because
we honored the invitation.
Yeah, but I think as an oversight on our side, it's probably was a bit difficult to identify at such short notice. But what we'll do, we'll still try to engage the DA and let them come through. I think, let's say, what I also wanted to ask, just before we move over to Mewaka from Go Azapo, you know, and a lot of people ask this question, you've got young leaders, Kama ANC, but you are not able to see where you see. Some people may even feel Sputa president. But yet, succession plan, because we feel like sometimes the ideas are young. I can't call a whole seasoned politician. You've been in this from a very young age. You could lead if you are called to lead. But then what happens to an organization is certain people from the time of Nelson Mandela in parliament today. Can these people really offer solution to the current problems? Or not only that,
In a true sense, the ANC is the only political party without being boastful. In a true sense, the ANC is the only political party which truly belongs to the people of South Africa. Because if we go to a conference, Brian, tomorrow, that conference can produce anything. If we go to the next conference, President Ramaphosa is not going to be re-elected. He would have done it 10 years. He would have finished his term.
But how old would he be by then?
I'm not sure. I'm saying,
I'm just saying, fella. Where are the young leaders?
We are a generational organization. Earlier on, you asked me a question. I said to you.
But we're still on generation.
I said to you.
You are like fourth generation.
I said to you, the premier of Gauteng, who's 20 years older than me, reports to me. I'm his boss. Panyaza Lesufi reports to me. None of the members of the executive council, none of the MECs are younger than me. All of them are older than me. They report to me. And if you look at those MECs in Gauteng, I'm speaking about Gauteng, these are people I served with in the youth league. These are the younger generation. Sputla. We prepare comrades from a very young age. Sputla started, that's why he's excelling. Because we had to bake him, we had to take time. He started as a councillor in Ward 51 in Atteridgeville. He was a councillor, local councillor. And I know my brother here has tried many times to be a councillor, and every time he doesn't.
Okay, let's not go into that.
He joins a new party.
Can we just? No, we're going to get to that. The only challenge, listen, obviously has to leave at some point. So
my brother
I'm trying to cover most of the questions.
Here would have tried to be a councillor, and every time he doesn't make it, he joins a new party. But it's okay. So Sputla started as a councillor, worked as a councillor, was prepared, then left as a councillor in Atteridgeville. He was a councillor while he was a qualified engineer. Then the ANC could see that there's potential in this young man. They made him a CEO of the Johannesburg fresh produce market. While he's there, the people of Tshwane felt, and the ANC felt, that he's lost to us.
Why can't they make him vice president, for instance? I just need to understand, because it feels like the younger people, Butimaimel and all those people, they're still being held into these positions.
You're not interacting as such. So Sputla then becomes the mayor, the mayor of Tshwane. One of the best ran administrations in his time. For almost 8 years, he runs this one. Best performing, created wonders. Guess what? He then is made an MEC of economic development. Right? That is succession planning. It's not we take a person who has never been anything and we make them a vice president of the country. You prepare them. And we are following the method of the Chinese Communist Party, where meritocracy becomes the guiding tool, where leaders are selected, elected, and prepared. So he gets to be prepared over time. He then heads, later on, after being a mayor, being an MEC, he has the biggest project in government. He was heading the biggest project. He was heading the presidential infrastructural program. When there was a crisis of ESCO, created by years and years of the Guptas, we then sent him to go and fix ESCO.
And I did respond.
And I'm not responding to anyone. I allowed people to speak, even when they misrepresent some of the history of this guy. I'm not responding. I'm speaking about you. I'm responding to your question.
I think maybe.
So Sputla becomes a minister. He's a member of the National Executive Committee. Guess what? The way the ANC respects Atteridgeville, the Treasurer General of the ANC, the sixth most powerful person in the ANC, is a daughter of Atteridgeville, Dr. Gwen Ramokopa, who was once a mayor of the city of Tshwane, who was the predecessor of Comrade Sputla. She was prepared, became a deputy minister, now elected in the National Executive Committee, is the Treasurer General of the Deputy President of the ANC. Comrade Paul Mashadile is not from Alexander. I want to help you so that the people of Atteridgeville understand this. The Deputy President of the ANC was born in Sosville. Okay. Paul Mashadile, the Deputy President of the ANC. Go and look at how he grew. He was in the Communist Party, became a secretary of the Communist Party, became a deputy chairperson in Gauteng, became a chairperson of Gauteng, became the Treasurer General of the ANC. So, is the Deputy President of the ANC.
And I hear you, and I don't dispute that. I think for sake, now we're gonna come back to that.
You don't just pick them from the streets and then you expect that they can run big institutions.
I still believe some of them should be holding some positions and some people should be in retirement. But that's my opinion.
A lot of people are going on and voluntarily.
I want us now to move to Azapo for sake of time because introduce because no setting and introduce also. And sorry for me because I know only this issue no South Africa especially so if you offend the sorry Osaka, can you just introduce it?
No, that's fine. Thank you so much for the opportunity. More than anything, I respect that, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity. Azapo. I'm the National Gender and Women's Affairs Secretariat. Azapo. I was born and bred here in Atteridgeville. And I also went to high school in Komakatu. And from there I went to KZN, because my father is from there, who took me to go and get school in Nanda. But then I came back to Pretoria, and I've been to TUT. Yes, Ali, by Bitan.
TNT.
TNT.
Oh, yeah, TNT,
I was with Abuntime, all of those things, and I served in the leadership in OTNT. I served in the SRC. I served as a branch chairperson there, OTNT, and I served also in the national executive of Azasco as an education officer. I also served as the gender officer in Azasco, and I further went to be a member of Azapo when I left there. I'm in Kelebetse. I also served in Azasem. In Azasco, I also served. I'm just giving you a brief, outline of who I am. And I served in many structures of this movement, and...
So you always lay Azapo?
Yes.
From...
No compromise.
Okay.
No compromise. Generally, I let me just say, without any waste of time, I came in. My comrades, they came to fetch me, and I found it very interesting. I said, no, let me just come and run and outline our position as Azapo.
Yeah.
And I would just firstly start by saying that the notion that the ANC government is the one that played a crucial role in the struggle is a fallacy. That's not true. Azapo played a very crucial role in the struggle, together with the PHC and the ANC. Those were the three leading liberation movements that fought and ensured that, we want to get the liberation of our people. During the struggle, the ANC left. They went to exile. And as Azapo, we remained in this country. We fought and Rishapa Mabur together with the PAC. So it can't be okay and true to say that the ANC is the only movement. I just want to correct that so that we can be at par. Let's be together. Not that when the others are in parliament and we forget, we have to put the history in a true sense so that we are able to teach the youth. They should also know where we are coming from, And we have our members, Wamuteba let them dance. Because Mulala, he was a very great leader and he made very huge changes within the community, and he even participated in sports and what. That's why they called him Let Them Dance. They fought very serious struggle of service delivery more at PheliVille until he even took them to court and ensured where they scrapped this unscrupulous bill that is frustrating our people on a daily basis, because we know at the end of the day the entire aim is to ensure that black people remain frustrated. Now, when I come to our position as Azapo, we are saying that even if it can be 30 years in Chad, the issue of the land is very important. There is nothing that we can resolve. You see, as Azapo, the first time in 1994, we decided that we don't want to go for elections because of this settlement. If you can see, there was that video that is circulating of Winnie Mandela. It's high time that we have to come. It doesn't matter. The struggle belongs to all of us. Let's stand up. Let's be honest. And let's take charge so that we can be able to move on. Because it's not going to assist us to say, here we did well, here we did not well. There is an issue, Chan. And the issue is the issue of economy and the land. You see, the issue of the land is very utmost crucial. No matter what.
Okay. Just for issue of time.
Yes.
Azapo used to be loved by me. I remember when I was young.
Yes.
Some of these parties, as you mentioned, LEPEC, PAC. But what happened? I mean, what happened to you?
We
remember I got
the ANC destroyed.
No, remember before it's Anamo. Remember Kibolela to but what no, the social media agent one.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot don't know what's up. The young people and what happened if to when Arab
No,
I knew this was going to happen
that's
at
fine.
some point.
You know why I like it.
Yeah.
You know why I like it. He's standing up. Because Azapo is not only a political party that just wants to go to parliament. Like what we are seeing that is happening now. It's a black consciousness movement in China. And you also belong to it. Even the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, they are from here. They were schooled in the black consciousness movement. So, black consciousness, the way they say, Ibuaka consciousness. So that's why he's standing up. I'm not protecting him. Even you yourself.
No,
you are like this, because
why Azapo the appeal to the normal citizen?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yes. What is happening? It's what this comrade is trying to explain. Because our policies, we don't compromise. We are straight. And the other issue is that our organization continues to be suffering discrimination and to be sidelined by all means, because they are saying that we are taking them backwards. And in no way are we going to be taking them backwards. But now we are saying now is the time. We spoke and we predicted about all these issues that are happening now. The high rate of unemployment, the frustrated youth, the crime and all these things that are happening. Because if you understand what is capitalism, capitalism is not just a way to be saying, these people are capitalists. It's got, its background, where it's coming from. And these people, they have planned very well. It's got its faces and it's also got its outcomes. And also one of them being, making sure that all this liberation movement, they have designed all different patterns that are also going to make sure that they get rid of this movement, because we are a waste of time. Hence the ANC now. You are going to go through in China, not very long. They will be saying, where is the ANC? So, we need to be addressing the struggle, not in a fashionable way, but be focused in a sense, in a way that, we want to liberate our masses. Let us liberate them from the shackles. With your land, there is nothing that you cannot do. Remember, and the issue of the land, some people misunderstand, and maybe they say when you have a land is when you can grab and put. No, the land, it includes a lot. It's the land, it's itself, it's the mineral resources of this country, all that you can talk about agriculture. I can give you one example. You see, people don't understand when we talk about Zimbabwe. What they are going through is because of the stance and the position that they have taken. There is nobody that can be happy for you when you say that I refuse, this is my land. You are going to make sure that you put sanctions, you do this and this and that, thanks to the Chinese, because they are good allies and they are socialists. They want to pay their debt to release from them. Hence now the outcome, see what is going on, the influx of Zimbabweans who are called foreigners, which is a very bad word. There is no foreigner. We are all Africans. We are not responsible for dividing the borders. We are not responsible for provinces. They came and they make sure that they want to benefit in their own way, hence they divided us. So if we don't open our eyes from now onwards and tell ourselves that enough is enough, starting from the entire continent and coming to this country, which is called South Africa. It was South Africa because it was identified as their own colony to say this is South. We are Azania. It is not South Africa.
And I hear you, Osaka, and
Yes.
It boils down to the election in Korean, no?
Yes.
I mean, how do you expect to perform different to the previous other elections? Because Azapo has been declining, as we all know. And also, there's this question here, why can't all Pan-African parties sort of absorb into one party to make them stronger? Why are we having so many in Chile? Because clearly, one is taking from the other and what, and one dissolving or what. Or like when you look at the PEC, and then you probably look even at the EFF.
Yeah.
What would you say is the reason why, especially in South African political system, these parties, or some of these parties, cannot join to just become one party that has got more votes and performs better, as opposed to parties that are going to the elections? Some don't even get seats in parliament, and then, how's a party like yourself? How are you even sustaining yourself?
Yeah, I think what we need to consider, the most important thing right now, as we are saying, it is of paramount importance that, given the state of the politics of this country, it is of importance that we consider that. It doesn't. We don't want to say we want to go there because we want to get seats in parliament. One thing about Azapo, as I have stated before, we are a liberation movement. We have contested many elections and we didn't get more seats because people don't understand the reason why people are like this. And we don't have resources. We don't have resources because there is no capitalist that is prepared to be funding our ideology. But we are saying we are going to continue to do that. I can give you an example for now. For us to be able to register, we were given money by our own people, the masses that we want to go and represent. Hence, at the same time, we are going to be changing the policies and the constitution with this country. So we are saying that we are belonging to the masses. We don't belong to people who want to be owning us. We are not a company, we are a liberation movement. But we are welcoming by all means to be working hand in hand with all the liberation movements. And we can be sitting down on the table and, start to be thinking very well, where is South Africa going? Is this South Africa, our parliament, is this parliament meant to be coming and gaining, for gains? And the other question we were asking to say why. We are, but look at the mushrooming of political parties. instead of liberating our own people right now, populism has taken its stand. That thing is not progressive. It's not going to be taking us anywhere. Now, the question that we need to ask, where are the liberation movement? Where are we and what are we saying in this drama that is unfolding? Our people are very important in this current scenario. Our people are dying on a daily basis because of hunger and poverty. Look at the decay and the declining of our youth. There is no single day where young people are not beating up. They are jumping into people's houses, stealing. It's our fault. It is our fault as the liberation movement. Let us take charge, because we are the ones that are actually breeding, what do they call this, vigilantism. All these, comrades, it is actually the end result of capitalism.
And I wanted to ask, in a country, obviously the majority of the country is black, but we're a rainbow country. How would Azapo, if Azapo were to rule, how would you address the complexity and this diverse? Because obviously, as much as you would be redressing the problems of the past, but then you must still maintain, you must somehow be inclusive to everyone else. How would Azapo strike a balance?
Yeah, thanks. That's a very good question. I think in this platform, I think it's very good for me to be here and explain properly, because people misunderstand us. We are not a racist movement. We are anti-racist. Hence, we are saying we need to have an egalitarian society, which means that we want to have an equal society. In no ways are we going to be tolerating, continuing to be having inequalities. Hence, on the other hand, this is our land. But what we are saying, we are going to have to be prioritizing everything that belongs to us. First, let it come back to us. Let our economy come back to us. Let our land come back to us. And from there, we are going to be starting and, to be having all those systems that are going to ensure that we are having good governance. Not that we are going to be having others who are superior and making others inferior. We can't be singing these slogans for decades and ages and talking about our gains and talking about our wrongs. Look at the Arabian states. They are making sure that...
If we can, I'm sorry, I just have to cut you short.
Fine. I hear.
Some may say all liberation movements speak like that when they're not in power. But once they're in power, maybe things change. What would have been different with Azapo? Should Azapo have been in power? Because I hear you saying we should address all these things at a go, and then we can come to how we address inclusion. How would Azapo have been different?
I think we would be different because of our policies. Our policies and our plans, our development plans, I think they play a very crucial role. And we are going to be different, taking you back again, in a sense that we want to ensure that this is the land, the true land that belongs to people, that we are not going, if Azapo takes power, we are not going to have provinces. And it's one of our priorities. We are saying all these provinces, we are going to get rid of them. Hence, that thing, because I think we are saying that it's a waste of money. 9 provinces is a waste of money. There's no need for us to be having provincial governments. When we are having national government, at local government, we can be able to do all those administration. Hence, we are creating jobs. We are opening opportunities for our people to be properly employed, and administration can be taking place at the same time. So this is what we are going to be doing.
I see my brother from MK is agreeing with you, but before we get to that, there's one thing we didn't address. Umkhonto wesizwe. Now, Umkhonto wesizwe, the military wing, formerly the military wing of the ANC, and now, why that name?
Well, Umkhonto wesizwe, it's exactly that. Umkhonto wesizwe. It's an organization that was designed for the people to defend themselves. Now, we have not moved away from the ideals of Umkhonto wesizwe, which was established in 1960, and purely because of the fact that we have realized that through this. Can I please? Yeah. Through. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Sorry,
I'm not very technical, so I'm not sure what I'm doing.
Now,
can we maybe have a member of the technical crew come through? But you can go on.
Yeah. Now, the crisis is, there's nothing different from Umkhonto weSizwe in that it has always been an organization of the people that are grounded to defend themselves. Even now, it's the same issue. But then the issue is that you cannot use people's strength to work against the same people that who are trying to actually improve their
because that name has raised a lot of controversy in itself.
It has, indeed.
You know, even the color scheme is almost the same. You know,
and indeed, but don't forget, the Umkhonto weSizwe brand is not owned by the ANC. Period. That was, it was a discussion between the Communist Party and the ANC for the people to protect themselves whilst the ANC was banned. Now, you cannot have a banned organization which can actually own another established organization. It doesn't make sense. And people, when they went through to join the MK, they were not going to join the ANC. They were going to join the MK, which makes it a people's organization. So the MK became a tool which was used as well by the ANC to be able to run its programs that would actually undermine the apartheid.
Do you feel the name itself, maybe to some, especially as we speak of a diverse community, you know, could to some people feel like citing violence or something, because you were talking about protecting yourself and what? Like, I'm trying to see the relevance in today's politics.
Yes, but you need to understand Umkhonto weSizwe in context. When Umkhonto weSizwe was formed, it was exactly that the system was perpetuating violence against a defenseless people. Now, when you have a colonial system fighting people and they're just standing there and doing nothing, it is their right to end up defending themselves with whatever it is that they had in their disposal. Even now, we are saying Umkhonto weSizwe is going to defend themselves against colonial practitioners who are actually implementing programs that have been imposed by the Western world for them to come and manipulate our people at the end of the day, to take away our land, to take away our resources, to subject us to poverty, to make sure that as Africans we become a begging society, because we know that when people are put in positions of poverty and squalor, they will always beg for a piece of bread. Now we're trying to move people away from that to say that, look, as Africans, let's start forming ourselves and making sure that we form a political front of us as Africans. Moving from there, we will make sure that we take over what rightfully belongs to us as Africans. And whoever comes into that plan will come into the plan from wherever they come from, provided they subscribe to our Afrocentric perspective. Hence, my colleague from Azapo was saying, and she rightly said, the fundamentals of everything, if we do not take our land back, then we are going nowhere, because land is rent. Everywhere, and the land is rent. Whoever owns the land owns everything. Do you understand? Now, you have a situation where ShopRite sells products to people. People get $3.50. I mean, really, $3.50, and then they buy a bag of milli. The same bag of milli gets sold by ShopRite. It's the same money that comes from government, but it gets into the pocket of the capitalist. How is it developing anybody else?
And I see how enthusiastic you are about it, but I'm still asking. The MK is formed out of the ANC.
No.
It's not formed. Not formed, but it's.
It was formed by the people.
No, I'm talking about the MK party.
Yes.
Is it formed out of? Was
outside of the ANC?
Outside of the ANC, of course.
Yes, obviously.
But predominantly, as you said, by people who were formerly ANC members.
Yes. As now, well as normal community members who share the same sentiments that the ANC is destroying the country. Now, these people said, look, we cannot We cannot. The ANC has turned itself into an enemy of the people. Now, when we're sitting in that situation, Chief, there's no way that people will just sit around and entertain an organization that is destroying them.
And I want to bring Leso into this. Now we're going into a debate in this. What do you say to what he has said? And let's obviously counteract each other because we're going into the election, and I guess people are sitting at home, and some are still undecided about who they're going to vote for.
You know, I was invited at the Daily Maverick, and I politely wrote to them that we're not going to come to that debate. The editor, Farah Al-Habaji, calls me and says, "But why are you not coming?" And I said, "We are 113 years old as a movement. And you tell us that we must be in a platform with a mushrooming organization that are without any ideology, that are full of rhetoric, dogma, and that are most of them and some of them are on Zulu nationalism and about dividing this country. We refused. I don't want to mention some of those organizations by name. When Azapo speaks, I hear consciousness, and I said it earlier, because I know what Azapo is. And that's why when President Thabo Mbeki was the president of this country, went to Azapo and said, "We're taking the president of Azapo, Dr. Musibudi Mangela, and we're making him a Minister of Science and Technology, a very important ministry that was established by him." It was not because we were in a coalition government. At that time, the ANC had won 2/3 majority. But it was because of the man was not just a pure Africanist, but he had something to contribute. In the office of the president was Dr. Gumbi, Mojangu Gumbi, from the PAC, who was the head of, who was the legal advisor of President Thabo Mbeki, right? From the PAC, right? That's the, and these things, they died after 2009. A lot of wrong things died, and that's why when the ANC went to its conference, the ANC went to a conference in 2017. The branches of the African National Congress, they say to the leadership of the ANC that renew yourself. It's because we are students of a scholar who wrote in the, and I think the comrades from Azapo will know, The Weapon of Theory. Amilcar Cabral in The Weapon of Theory says something, because all the other people who were speaking, they were blaming imperialists, they were blaming everybody who's outside. And he says, there is no use beating about the tom-toms when your house is on fire. You must wage a relentless struggle against your own weaknesses. So when we have challenges, we want to blame Americans, we want to blame the British and everything. So Cabral says you need to look at the weaknesses within your own movement. The ANC did exactly that. And it said that we must renew ourselves. And part of the renewal was that we would have accumulated singers, we would have accumulated bad elements within the movement. And now the powerful waves of renewal are beginning to remove the chaff from the ANC. These people that were called Askaris, who have always been in the ANC, some of them are taking senior leadership in the ANC, and some of them wearing the t-shirt, singing the slogans. Over time, we will warn that these people are not ANC, and they begin to reveal themselves. And that's why over time they want to say, we are contesting for elections so that we must take back South Africa to an era where it must be ruled by the chiefs and the kings. In Atriville, there are people who say that, and they promote a particular language. There are people who are populist, and I think my sister from Azapo spoke about that they want to chant popular slogans, because these slogans are some sort of low-hanging fruits to incite the people so that people move in a particular direction.
But all political parties chant. I mean, Tumamina, was a slogan by the president to say. I know it's a song, but it was to say there's been wrong, I suppose.
Yeah.
Now, Tumamina, send me.
Yeah.
And to a lot of people, people are feeling like we're seeing the president now in May, but we haven't really seen him so much as what he said. And this brings me to issues that the ANC itself, and we're going outside of PheliVille a bit. We are now addressing issues like the ruling party, 30 years in government, but we still have children falling into pit toilets. We still have children crossing dams where a bridge should have been built. Now, these are common questions from the citizenry. Now, this does not mean that any other political party could have done better, but we're asking the ruling party that some of these things, are they not things that could have been done within the state years or earlier?
One of the things that is revolutionary about us, outside the disruptions, is that we own up to our challenges. We own up to our weaknesses. We own up to the mistakes that we would have committed over time. Either mistakes when we were in exiles, or either mistakes that we would have made during the negotiations in CODESA, or the mistakes that we would have made while we were in government. We own up to those mistakes. That's part of one of the things we've done. There are things that we could have done better. There are people that we could have vetted and would have realized that this is counter-revolution.
Yeah.
We should not have allowed them to lead the ANC in the first instance. And that's why President Mbeki, no matter what they did to him, he never left the ANC. He said,
can I just come in?
I don't come in when they speak.
Okay, no, I withdraw.
I don't come in when they speak. They want to come in every time I speak.
No, let's just allow him, but we'll still allow him to come into the same.
When President Mbeki was president of this country, actually after he was removed as president and was not happy, and he stayed home and continued to speak out about what was happening in the movement. And he's back now campaigning for the African nation. So we own up to the weaknesses that we have made. There are a lot of good things that we would have done.
Yeah.
President Ramaphosa inherited a government that would have been collapsed.
But he was the vice president of the government. When you say inherited, he was sitting there when all this, because there's that conversation of he inherited, but he was sitting there and seeing all those wrongs happening.
When you are a deputy president, it's almost a ceremonious position.
But one would also ask that it's almost as if politicians are more, what do you call it? I'm trying to get a correct word. Are more interested in positions than being revolutionary when they were. Because all these parties were revolutionary at some point. Azapo, ANC and what.
So now, revolutionary.
Yeah, I'm just saying from inception.
Yeah.
Now, if you are seeing that somebody, a sitting president, is doing things that are going to be so damaging that it's going to be almost impossible for you to fix, why are you not revolting at the time? And I'm asking not as a politician, as a citizen trying to understand how
if you look during the time of, I forget his name, the guy from Ghana. If you look at his time,
that was your former president. That was your former president of the party. So
if you look at his
I'm sure that it's still fine to mention his name.
I always forget his name. If you look at the ANC, there's never been an instance where the National Executive Committee of the ANC, there is a motion of no confidence on the sitting president. It's never happened. It happened under him 4 times, where the National Executive Committee said that this person is leading this country outside, where veterans of the ANC, veterans of organized themselves and say this can't be correct. We can't allow this thing to happen. Where the South African Communist Party said that there is a capture by some Indians and therefore there should be some commission that is commissioned. Because the South African an ally of the African. These voices came from inside. The ANC, which is able to say, we've made a mistake, we've come. I can give you an illustrious history of the movement. Whether it's John Dube, educated. Whether it's Sefako Makhat, buried in Mamelodi.
I don't want to go into the history. I'll tell you what, because
there's a point. whether it's Sefaku Makato, educated. Whether it's JT Gumede, educated. Whether it's Moroka, educated. Whether it's the founder Pixley Gaisaga Sen, educated. Whether it's OR Tambo, Lutuli, educated. Whether it's OR Tambo, educated. Mandela, educated. Thabo Mbeki, way educated. I don't want to speak about what happened after Thabo Mbeki. Then it's Cyril Ramaphosa. We made a mistake. The ANC said.
But the biggest thing is political will. Education is a part of it. Political will, at the end of the day, it's what's important. Because I could be educated.
Yeah.
But depending on what I'm going to do, I could still be incompetent.
South Africa
I could still be incompetent. So I don't want to go into...
Africa is a complex economy.
I understand
there's
that.
no common sense. Let me tell you, the ANC made a mistake in 2007 and believed that common sense can run this country. It's complex. We took a guy and made him to run ESCOM, where I worked for 7 years. And this guy went into ESCOM and he began to decommission power station units by units until we had the situation we found ourselves.
Because I wanted to say a lot of educated people brought us to the position, some of the positions. No, I'm saying in all these, in all these,
Are you talking about
in all these ministries? I mean, we've had ministries that didn't perform.
Who are you talking about?
No, I don't want to.
Are you talking about who's this guy?
But let's be honest.
Saudi
Let's be
Mutwane.
honest. No,
This was the appointment.
Saudi
Mutwane. Are you talking about
his character assassination?
Let's be honest. There's been ministries.
That is chaff.
But there's been ministries that have not performed.
Which one? So
whereas you put
which one?
educated people.
Which one?
I don't have to say name.
Which one?
Education.
I can't say name. There's been ministries.
Education.
Lots of
30%
ministries.
mathematics.
Lots of
30%
ministries.
math literacy. Education.
Before I bring
Just
in
example.
all I'm saying is that I don't want us to dwell on the issue of education to sort of discredit.
It was not about
because in all
honesty,
can you say
you disrupt me so much?
No, you were, but in all honesty, can you say that
I know you are
did not achieve anything? No, I'm not. No, but all I'm saying.
But you disrupt me so much.
And that's why I call them all Ubaba, because I respect all former presidents, from Uta to Nelson Mandela, Uta to Thabo Mbeki, Ubaba Jacob Zuma, Ubaba Cyril Ramaphosa, and also not forgetting Ndate Kgalema Motlanthe. You know, I respect all of them. You know, because they were sitting presidents. It's not an easy position.
Sure.
If the ANC allowed somebody with lack of education to lead it, it means there must have been very educated people that saw something in him. So we cannot entirely discredit that.
The problem was you keep on interrupting.
And when we talk of performances, no, I'm just saying, because I don't want us to talk.
That my airtime is wasted on the. If
I don't want us to
whenever
discuss
whenever I try to contextualize a point I make. Because President Mbeki came and gave a review of the 30 years.
Okay.
And in that 30 years...
And he said the ANC is led by thieves. He said that in February. Yeah, you can go on, yes.
Yeah. President Mbeki gives 30 years of this country.
Yeah.
And he explained in UNISA earlier in February that there was a time where I knew that this movement that I've given everything to was led by a common criminal. And I couldn't associate myself with. And that's why later on he has come on and said, I think the ANC is on the path of renewal. SARS is performing. The units that have been decommissioned from ESCOM have been recommissioned. They are performing. Load shedding is becoming a thing of the past. We are collecting more in terms of the people who are appointed as commissioners in the provinces, the police and everything, are people who are transplanted from the civic, from the police service. There's a lot of renewal which is happening. The bad elements within the movement are kicking themselves out. And then I believe this is the organization that I can associate with. There's still a lot to uproot out, but I can associate. But he gives this 30-year review, which is something that you said yourself when you started. He says that between 94 and and 2009,
Yeah.
the country moves like this. And it's not common sense. It's looking at all government indicators. What I said about Atteridgeville, there's this high rate of development. There's Lotus Gardens that comes in. There's extensions. There's roads. There's all this. The country is on an upward trajectory. Then 2009 happens. The country goes down like this. It's an admission from a former ANC president, and he's quoting one of the ardent critics of the ANC, Dr. Andres, the CEO of the Institute of Race Relations, in discussing our country and in discussing the future of our country, we would have to admit where we've made wrong. And that's why the ANC says that. It's able to say that this councillor that we've given you, we've made the wrong decision.
But according to what you're saying, Leso, the ANC has done wrong in a particular term, where it had a president which was almost non-performing. And yet, obviously there would be stats or whatever that prove that certain things were happening, certain things were not happening. Same as with Utatumbeki's term. I mean, for instance, there are those who debate the issue and they even go on to call it genocide of when the rollout of ARVs was held back in a way. I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to put it in like a politician. Was held back, and then came Jacob Zuma, and it was fast-tracked, and a lot of people were saved from that. So there are all these issues, and now we look at the term now, and the question that a lot of people will be asking is, has Cyril Ramaphosa? Sorry, I need to find a correct title. No, because moving. So I don't know really Ubaba is the correct way. As you can see, Utata Ubaba Bo Cyril Ramaphosa. Has he done enough? Has he done enough? Could he have done more? Despite all of these things that would have happened according to what the party says, he inherited this state. Has he done more? Because we saw a chance. We saw Tumamina, he danced and what. But a lot of people will say he almost like faded, and in the end he's coming back. There were times when people were saying maybe he's a bit aloof and what. Could he have done differently?
He has done exceptionally well. I think part of the problem that bedevils South Africans is suffering from selective amnesia. Immediately after the election of President Ramaphosa in 2019, in 2020, the world was engulfed in a very difficult situation. The world, not South Africa, the world as a whole. The COVID pandemic hit us. We saw millions of people dying in the most developed communities.
And there was rampant corruption in that period
but
too.
every time
I'm
I
just
say
saying.
you-
No, I'm just saying. Let's. I don't want us to speak just of the beauty.
But this is-
Let's also delve
There's nothing
into.
beautiful about the pandemic. You asked me a question. Has
Yeah.
Ramaphosa done well? I'm explaining.
Yeah.
I'm saying he's elected in July 2019. In 2020, there's a pandemic that hits the world.
Yeah.
It kills millions across the world. It kills a lot of people in America. It kills a lot of people in China, in India, and in Europe, the most advanced economies in the world. Right? We have to then ride the storm in this country.
Yeah.
I'm following elections in America.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Donald Trump was removed as president was how he handled the COVID pandemic. Americans felt that he misled them by telling them that it's just a flu that will pass. And millions of them died in that advanced economy. The government had to reprioritize its priorities. The global supply chain was interrupted. For instance, if you take your Toyota for service, they can tell you that they don't have brakes, they will arrive after 3 weeks or 5 weeks, because there was a global supply of goods and services. It was a challenge. Those were challenging times for those 2 years, but they were compounded by something else which was happening. And I think Azapo, PAC, and conscious movements will understand it better. The China-US war, on technology, the proxy war which happened, while we were looking at that, then there was a war in Ukraine, which literally divided the world. You can undermine what's happening in Ukraine. The war that is happening it's not a war between Russia and Ukraine, no. It's a war between the United States of America as well as Russia. Russia is our second biggest trading partner.
And so now, it will not go but I'm being told by production we may not have as much time as
He
you
says
wanted.
I have 2 minutes.
But I can tell you now, we'll probably call this debate again. Try to be inclusive and have other parties, that are
disrupt the biggest
significant. We are neutral with PheliVille Podcast.
Yeah.
So just moving to Oswaka, to what they've said, do you find any conviction? Do you feel Azapo still has input there? Should they invite you into some of these discussions? Do you have maybe better solutions?
No, most definitely. I think we need to continue to be part of these discussions because in no way can we stay behind now. We need to be in front of our masses as possibly as we can, given the situation in this country and in the entire continent.
Yeah.
And I want to say that, with what the comrade has said here, that, they realize their mistakes and, they have, but the question is that, how do we move forward? And as Azapo, we are saying, we can't be staying on one mistake for a long time. It's like when you go to the field, you find a monkey. It's very destructive. It goes and takes mealies, it puts it under the armpit, and it leaves the armpit, it goes to take another. For the whole day, you will find mealies there. So I think the most important thing that is making us not to be progressive and to be backwards. We don't want to take charge, and we want to remain in the hands of the colonialists. The most important thing that is going to be making us, to be dilly-dallying, it's this constitution. You see, there's nothing that we can do without having to change this constitution. Remember the constitution that was drawn, part of things that are there, it's the agreement that was taken in Bloemfontein during the Codesa. And part of it is saying that we are giving you political power and the economy is remaining in our hands. We cannot work like that. And that's hence the reason why we won't be able to be moving forward. Look at our young people. They have to struggle. Every matriculant must be thinking to say, when I go to tertiary, I have to start by doing fees must fall. It's wrong. Let's change things that we are doing. And there's no way that we are going to be continuing with constitutional amendments.
I think I'm going to take that as your closing statement.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but
Thank
we
you
will
so
see
much.
if we can
Thank
have
you so much.
this conversation soon. It would be nice to have it still before the election, but we'll have that discussion and see if you honorable members are able to come through again. Just in closing, and now you're speaking to the masses who should vote for you. What would you say? Why should someone vote for you?
Thank you, South Africa. Please vote MK Party, and for a few simple reasons. That the fact is, we want to take our land back. We deserve the land. We want to bring back the dignity of an African. We want to get rid of colonialism in all its forms. We want to get rid of exploitation of our people, and we want our people to develop. We want our youth to grow. We want our youth to be educated, but in a proper way. We need education that would be Afrocentric, not to be designed to solve European problems, but to be focused on solving local problems.
Thank you
We
so
want to make sure that we
Thank
take
you so
over
much.
mineral resources,
I'm
our
gonna
land,
have
and make
to
sure
wrap it up there.
that
So
develop the continent.
We'll continue from there. If I can
Thank you.
just hand over to Leseo to
Just wrap up.
Thanks.
Why vote the ANC?
Well, vote for the African National Congress. Bring back the glory days of pre-2016. Bring back POP. Bring back fatales. Bring back stability in the city. Bring back a very clean Atteridgeville that we used to have. We want to continue with Nasispani. We want Panyaza to continue in creating hundreds and thousands of jobs for our people. We want to see a Gauteng that works. You must reject coalition governments. You must reject fruit salads that don't work. You must reject rhetoric, dogma, and you must reject Zulu nationalism. Vote ANC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. To the viewers there, thank you. I'm sure we'll have another discussion soon. Obviously, we can't wrap all of this in 1 hour. I'm sure we could sit for 3 hours, but thank you so much, everyone. Also, Aka, Abuto Aka, Korotmane. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to subscribe to channel PheliVille Podcast. We are loading an episode every week. Look forward to this particular episode. And remember to follow everything ailing the ARC. We're calling out on all other people, all other organizations, especially the businesses in Atteridgeville, to kindly support us. We are a young movement that's just trying to find itself, and we do obviously need all the help and resources we can get. So with that, Brian, Mshengu Chavalala, Mshengu Wasepitori, see you next time.
Please take note, all comments raised by the various political parties are those of the political parties concerned and are not those of Safari Investments RSA Ltd, Nkoma Village, The Ark at 1349, and our social partners.